Welcome! It's Facts You Don't Know. If it's your first time here and you want to find out new facts that will definitely make you smarter and more, well, and first make sure to subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss anything.
Sometimes it's easy to forget how amazing modern medicine has become. From replacement joints to vaccines, doctors have never had such sophisticated tools at their disposal. Regardless, even the most trusted and highly skilled doctors are capable of a misdiagnosis. They are, after all, merely human. Sadly, when this happens, it's the patient who suffers the consequences. Take what happened to Chilean woman Estella Melendez, who was told by doctors that she was living with a tumor in her stomach. Then, a later examination revealed the devastating truth. A 91-year-old woman named Estella Melendez was living in La Boca, Chile, just off the coast of the Pacific Ocean, when she began to feel her age. One day, while she was in her home, she fell to the ground hard, and she had to be brought to a nearby hospital. That's where she would receive life-changing news. Estella lived the bulk of her life with her husband in her peaceful neighborhood. Not only did they love their hometown, but when they were together off the coast, the pair were virtually inseparable. Gonzalez, Estella's husband, was a boatman and a fisherman. These seemingly quiet lives of the couple were spent working hard and being utterly committed to each other. And sadly, at the age of 91, Gonzalez passed away. Estella had no reservations about her husband's 74 years of marital bliss she shared with her. However, there was one thing she regretted. They were never able to start the family they had always wanted. Estella and Gonzalez realized, unfortunately, that they were unable to conceive, and so their whole lives went by without raising children. For this, we suffered tremendously, Estella said in an interview. Little did she know that a very peculiar explanation existed for this. You see, Estella discovered some time before Gonzalez passed away that she had a tumor in her uterus. Might that have been the reason they could not conceive? It seemed inevitable. And in spite of their circumstances, Gonzalez and Estella tried their best to live their lives to the fullest. She started to have other health issues as Estella aged. She had a lot of hearing problems, and she also developed a serious case of arthritis, which had a huge effect on her mobility. This was all made worse after Gonzalez's death. Then, when she was 91, she accidentally fell into her home by herself. Fortunately, Estella was all right, but she knew that she would like to see a doctor. So she enlisted her neighbor, Claudio Vicuna, to drive her to the San Antonio hospital, about 40 miles away from her house. Her doctors unexpectedly made a shocking discovery when conducting an X-ray to determine any damage caused by her fall. The original suspicion of the doctors was that they found proof that Estella was residing in her uterus another tumor. They wanted to ask for a second X-ray in order to confirm this. That's when they found out how wrong her diagnosis had all been. There was something there all right, but it wasn't a tumor. The team of physicians was absolutely surprised to discover that the object inside the uterus of Estella was not at all a tumor, but the calcified remains of an aborted fetus that she'd been carrying for about 60 years. She had no idea before that she had ever been pregnant. Although it might have seemed like a medical phenomenon, the case of Estella was much more widespread than most people would assume. Lithopedians are known as these calcified fetuses, and they're caused by a disease that affects a small percentage of the female population. Experts have long indicated that lithopedian is often the side effect of a pregnancy when the fetus develops beyond the womb of the mother. These forms of abdominal deliveries, as predicted, are extremely dangerous as both mother and child are at risk of losing their lives. Eventually, the vast majority of abdominal pregnancies result in a miscarriage. If the fetus is still tiny and undeveloped, the mother's body reabsorbs it. However, when these fetuses are larger, a more invasive procedure is needed. If there's no surgery to have the fetus removed, it may be calcified. The first known case of a lithopedian can be found in the 10th century, according to medical records, and was identified as Abulcasis, an Arabic doctor. In fact, the earliest detectable case was discovered at an archaeological site in Texas and dates back to around 1100 BC. Other examples include a woman called Colombe Chatry, who in the 16th century lived in France. She started to feel intense labor pains when she became pregnant at 40 years of age, although she never actually gave birth to her child. Colombe's doctor further investigated her body and found a baby girl's calcified fetus inside her belly. For decades, other similar cases have been recorded around the world, each as devastating as the last. Prior to Estella's, the other most recent reported lithopedic case was when an 82-year-old Colombian woman was thought to have had a serious stomach bug. They found a 40-year-old fetus as she underwent further testing, however. Unfortunately, the doctors at Claudio Vacuna Hospital realized in Estella's case that there was very little they could do for her. Her unborn fetus would possibly stay in her womb for good, as at her advanced age, an operation for removal would be too dangerous. While Estella was learning to cope with her unborn child's devastating news, her family was equally devastated. Are you able to imagine? In an interview, her nephew Luis said, over 60 years. 60 years. Although Estella was delighted that her health was not affected by the tumor within her stomach, the news was understandably bittersweet. It showed that she was still, after all, able to conceive children. Now, for the rest of her days, she'd be forced to live with a daily family reminder she'd always liked. What a heartbreaking revelation to learn that Gonzalez and Estella were so close to achieving their dreams. It's a blessing on the bright side that she was in good health, as she understood. Thanks for watching. Please like and share the video in social networks. We'll be right back to you as fast as we can.